So let's talk about lighting. And I know it's not the sexiest topic in the world. It's not a new lens or a new camera, but it is arguably the most important variable in carving your image. It's gonna really set your images apart more than any camera or lens ever would. And if you are just starting out and you're thinking about investing in some lighting, well, good for you. Your priorities are in the right place, but it can be a little bit overwhelming because there's an abundance of choice when it comes to lights on the market these days. There are so many to choose from, so many good ones. Even at the lower end of the budget, really, there's some really good options. And now you might be tempted by offerings from companies like Nanlite or Aperture with like the 300D, the Forza 500, and those are great lights. You really can't go wrong. Wouldn't blame me for getting them. They are some of my personal favorite lights, and I do own a few and use them quite frequently. But if I'm just starting out and I have a limited budget, let's say $1,500 is my budget for a lighting kit, those are not the lights that I would start with. In fact, I would actually go with these flex LED type lights. I'm using Falcon Eyes ones, but a bunch of companies make them. And they are not the most versatile lights. They are not the most flexible ones. They are not my favorite lights. They're not the best lights. They're not the most powerful lights. But when you factor in their size, their relative light output, the price, their value really stands out, especially if you are doing this alone, or maybe you have a buddy or an assistant, because when you're just starting out, you're probably not gonna have the best clients with the highest budgets. They're probably gonna be really cheap. You're probably gonna be shooting in a lot of random locations, maybe a small office. You're not gonna have the resources to rig heavier light setups. You don't wanna risk damaging walls or ceilings. Don't want to worry about using C-clamps and cribbing with heavier lights, because that's what you're going to need if you're going to put like an aperture light overhead. And let's face it, 9 times out of 10, when you are lighting someone for a job, it just needs to look good. It needs to be big, it needs to be soft, it needs to be flattering. And even though these lights cannot be shaped and you can't do the same kind of hard cinematic lighting setups, you can't bounce these off of objects. I mean, I guess you could, but not very well. You can still get that big soft light because that's how they come, and that's most of the time what you're gonna need. And if you have the money, then it's great to be flexible and you can get a variety of lights, but if you just need to pick one light, maybe 2 lights, I would highly recommend these type of lights. Just look right above me. I have my hair light right here, and that is actually being supported by one of these Manfrotto polecats that just uses tension and leverage to wedge itself between 2 walls. But it's not the sturdiest thing in the world. If I were to put one of these aperture lights on it, it would just fall and crack my head open, and it would probably do that to your talent, to your client. We don't want to do that. So because these lights are so light and don't weigh anything, we can do that. I can use this cheap pole that I could set up by myself. I don't need a crew. I don't need any special equipment. I don't need to risk damaging the location. And if it does fall, the light does fall, I mean, it's like being hit with a kite. Like, it doesn't hurt, but it probably won't fall because they don't really weigh that much. And that is really ultimately their advantage, is that if you are a one-man band kind of shooter, you can just roll up the set, literally roll these into your little cart or your wagon, into your car. You can carry them by yourself. They're not gonna break your back. They're not gonna break your bank. And they have other advantages. They are bicolor, so you can match with various lighting sources in your scene. They're not as flexible as like RGB lights, like from Westcott, but they are flexible within a useful range. So that's an added benefit. Their build quality is actually really nice. Even though they're flimsy and flexible, you can toss them around, you can kick them around. They're not gonna break. I mean, don't go crazy, but you know what I mean. And they also fit in places that you just cannot fit these aperture lights. Like, for example, if I wanted to use one of these aperture lights to light myself and create a soft, flattering look on myself or a client, I would need a 40-inch softbox or something like that. And that is gonna take up a lot of space. And if space is limited, you're gonna bump into it. You might not be able to get it far enough back to take it out of your shot. If you need to shoot in a cramped hallway, like I did in this other video that I'm using these lights for, those lights are not gonna fit. But because these lights are so flexible and because they are so slim and they have such a low profile, you can kind of just stick them anywhere that they need to go. and they're gonna fit and you're gonna get your job done. And most importantly, you're just gonna have more time to invest in actually getting your shots and making sure that your product looks good. And that's honestly what's more important. Because I don't know about you, but I've had enough experiences where I show up to a set with just me or my buddy Daniel, and we would waste so much time trying to rig all of these heavy lights to do these elaborate lighting setups. And we would have our heavy boom arms and our heavy C-stands and our sandbags, and we'd be like dragging things around. And it was kind of a pain in the ass. We managed to get good results, but at a huge expense of time that we could have spent more efficiently working with our client and getting the shots that we needed. This would have been way more convenient. And also, because these lights don't weigh that much, you can just use these El Cheapo like light stands. You don't need to carry around big, heavy, expensive C-stands. And that's just another added perk because look, I'm at the point in my life right now where I don't want to carry around a bunch of heavy shit anymore. It's annoying. So for jobs that I don't need to carry heavy stuff for, I love using these lights. And that's really another added value to these lights is that when you do move up, when you get higher paying clients and you update your lighting kit, you get better stuff, these are not going to be irrelevant. It's not like you're going to be like, oh, these are useless. Like they will still have a place in your lighting kit. You will still probably get a lot of use out of them. Just yesterday, I was shooting another tutorial where I needed to use a lot of motivated lighting, and I was having my scene being motivated by the practicals in it. And I just wanted to shape and fill the existing light in the scene. And I was by myself. I didn't have a crew. So moving these lights around and setting them up the way I needed them to be was just a lot easier, a lot faster. And it was a lot more appealing. It made me actually want to do what I was doing because I wasn't fighting with my gear. And along with their size and their affordability, the light output is actually quite strong. Like, look, it's not going to be a 600D, but I am shooting on the red Komodo right now with the Canon RF 50mm lens. I think I'm at 1.4. I have a 5-stop ND filter on it. I have a grid on the light, and there's still plenty of light output on me. I'm only at 20%. The background is fine. It's not blowing out. This is my hair light right here. That's at like 40%. So there's plenty of output. I really needed to push the exposure on these lights. I could. So for all of those reasons, I think these lights are probably the best bang for your buck if you're someone who is starting out. And look, they are not perfect. Like they do have their flaws. Like the frames that come with these lights that keep them sturdy and rigid, they're kind of a pain in the ass and they're not very well thought out. They come loose all the time. They can be a bit of a pain in the butt to set up, but once you set them up and you just leave them alone, it's fine. It's a small trade-off. Other than that, I can't really think of any negatives to the lights. And if you can afford to get yourself a little kit, I would highly recommend it. Maybe if you want to be a little bit more flexible, you can get 2 of these and a hard light source like a 300D maybe, or 300D2, something like that. I think Nanlite might have some cheaper ones. I don't know. But you get the point. Like you can mix and match, be flexible, but if you had to just pick one light to get you through your jobs, to get you through most of the things that you're probably going to be shooting for money, I would recommend just getting these Falcon Eyes flexible LED mats or something very similar. So those are my thoughts. That is my opinion on these lights. I hope it was helpful. And if you found this valuable or insightful, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you next time.